Today I'm going to show you how I received the Makiti brand stereo that I'm going to put in my 2017 smart car. It says on the internet, I bought it from eBay, China product, that it didn't come with any instructions. But according to this one, I got some limited instructions by the Makiti brand. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but that's what I have here. I'll show you that manual in a minute. But this is the face. At first I was concerned because the back of it is only this narrow. You can look by my fingers. And I realized this thing got to go into a smart car. But then when I looked again, based on other people's videos, these clips right here is what's going to go where the radio normally snaps in. I'll get to that later. So I figured it'd be best for me to show you some of the connections before we go out and install it in the car. It all came in this heavy-duty packaging like this, which I thought was too small to put all this stuff in. Well, apparently it took the head unit as well as all these other items you see on the floor here. Now I'll show you about the groupings. I got some trim tools, which I wasn't expecting. That's good. Then I got 4 different bags of electronics here. And I'll go through them. I organized them by what they're used for. The first one is for all the audio connections and different things you may have, including the two USB connections that you're going to put on the back, as well as the GPS antenna. This should be fairly simple. The other part is the main part that we really have to deal with, and that includes the CAN bus system right here and the wiring to that. Figure out these are going to connect to the installed stereo head unit. This will connect to the CAN bus, and that will be plugged into another part later. The next is the audio visual as well as the camera. I got a backup camera in here. It comes with a cord. Some of you may be familiar with them. Yellow on both ends. Then you have these red connectors. But I already read on the instructions where I need that to run signal to it, but I don't know if I need it to run power to the camera. I'll determine that later. And here is the microphone. Even though I don't understand why they have a separate microphone when the unit's supposed to have a built-in microphone on itself. Then you got some either or wires. I call these. This I think is an antenna adapter you may not need. I just showed it to you anyway. And this is if you're going to use a straight connector for your audio and video. But if you're going to use the CAN bus system, I don't think you need this. So we're going to set that aside. And those are the components that I'll be putting in today. And on the instruction that came with it, they do give you some limited instructions that tell you the wiring diagram of the different areas. And then the rear camera connection. So I'll tell you about the either or wires. If you're going to use it singularly, then you go by these set of instructions. If you're going to use it with a CAN bus, then you go by these set of instructions. And as you can see, the biggest thing with the CAN bus is being able to run power to the camera. Everything else can be controlled through the CAN bus. I'll try to show you that later. Here's the wiring diagram of this type of radio I have. Okay, y'all. I hope this head unit is recording correctly. First thing you have to do is remove your old stuff that you have in your car already. My phone, USB adapter, and this tool here. Pull it back, and that unplugs as well. I'm going to miss this thing because I really enjoyed having my phone sitting here in front of me, but I think I have better use of this new unit I'm putting in. First, use your trim tool to loosen up this plate around it. Remember, it's not the metal looking bezel in the back, it's mainly this front plate. Push it in, loosen it up. There's a couple of clips around the way You find out where they are, you'll be able to remove this. Screw around. See? Slowly coming up. If it's the first time you ever taking this off, it'll be a little more difficult than normal, but don't worry about it. Do the right things, you have this off. The top part already loose. There it goes. Little pull. There. You have to watch these little metal clips here. Make sure they don't come out. That's what actually holds it into the plastic. Mine almost came out. Just put them back in. Little plastic bezel thing came off with it. That's good. So now all you have to do is move these Torx screws. The 4 Torx screws. These 2 screws won't be hard to take out at all. Pull them out. Try not to drop them. And the last screw. You hear that clicking noise all the way out. So all I gotta do now is grab the stereo, wiggle it side to side, come bring it out, pull them backwards. And there you have it. It's coming right out. Pull this back. Note your connections. This is the antenna. And these are your electrical connections. And as you see, I added some wires to this already when I hooked my aftermarket tweeter and stereo system into this car. All I gotta do is push this pin. That comes right out. Push this pin. That comes right out. Now the antenna is a little different. You have to squeeze these together right here and pull like such. As you can see, this face right here will stay here for what we're trying to get done now. So all we got to do is hook up our electrical connections, and I'll show you best I could how that's done. Let's start with the power connectors. I was showing you that was in the bag earlier. This is the GPS antenna. We'll take care of that in a minute. So all we have to do is, this is your, mine came with a CAN bus. Mine is a high world CAN bus. And all we gotta do is plug this connector into here. There's all in there. Now these two, I'm gonna plug into the car wiring. You can't get them mixed up because they're only a certain way they go on. So you hook the big one onto the big one like this. Make sure you line it up properly. There, slides right on. And this one, line it up correctly. Slide that right on. And as you can see, these wirings were made for the smart car. So that's good. This connector is going to hook up into the stereo. You'll see me doing that in a minute. As well as this connector. Okay, you can hook this up depending on your own variety of connectors and connections or whatever you plan on doing with yours. I couldn't figure out what certain things were for, and I'll tell you what I've discovered as I go. Found a good place to set this down on. This connector hooks up into right here on the stereo, aftermarket stereo. Just hook that up. Make sure it's properly aligned. Snap it in. Yeah, I heard it snap. This is the power to your cooling fan. Believe it or not, that connector is on one of the audio connections. Let me pull this out so we can set this here. This is the radio connector. Now that I know where that's gonna go, all we gotta do is hook this up to the antenna on here. Looks like an odd pairing, but that's where it goes. There, it snaps in. And we actually have an antenna connector on this radio. And plug that into there. There, that's in. And this is the 4G, what they call full netcon. I didn't understand what this is for, but this is for if you want to put a SIM card. I mean, for if you want to be able to get map updates while you're on the move. This is what that's for. So I'm going to go ahead and install it, even though I think the companies are trying to do away with 4G now that everybody's going to 5G. But I'm going to go ahead and install it. So that's going to be enough wire to run all the way over. I can play it out by ear. So what I'm going to do is hook all this stuff up for functionality. This goes into the one that says that's marked 4G on here. So I'm going to just take this cover off and screw this on. I can unscrew all this stuff later when I start putting stuff up. We'll make sure it all works good. Save us some time. You want to see me have to run all these wires. I'll show you the end result. Okay, that one's in. So that's the 4G antenna. Now here's another important connector we have to make. This is the one for the SIM card. And what I discovered the SIM card is for, that's actually for if you want to have service to download your app while you're in motion and things like that. The other part is just an antenna. This is the actual thing that gives you service. You don't always have to use this, but I'm going to hook it up because I don't have to go back in here again. I'm going to go ahead and put everything in that I can. Again, I'm hooking these up to where I can pull them back out again. Now, keep getting confused by what goes where. These pins are actually marked by their sizes. This has a 4-pin. I got to look on here for the 4-pin connector, which is number 3 on here. Line it up and insert it. Head it upside down. There. Next connector. As you can see, there's a good multiple connector on this one. This one has about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, multiple. And all I got to do is line this up to the far one to the right. That's the connector is made for. And this is the one that has the SIM adapter on it. And it has all the other connections. And here's the one that mic plugs into. That's why it's important to put this in before you worry about plugging in a mic. So you make sure it's properly aligned. The clip is on top. Just push it in. Make sure it's seated all the way down. And it is. And then, next we have the microphone and the wind cover for it. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to use this, but I'm going to go ahead and install it as well. Put on that wind sock. I don't think I need it for this. And this is going to clip on my visor up here when I run it. Oh, I got plenty of wire to run this microphone. I don't know why they did this 4G antenna the way they did it. This is what we plug the mic into. This connector right here. That's the microphone. It's labeled mic. Plug that in right there. Make sure you hear it snap. Also, while we're in here, that little wire I told you about on top of this receiver, actually that's going to be, yeah, it's on the top. I got this thing turned around. You hook that into here. You make sure you got it properly lined up. Slide goes where the slide goes. Just pop it in. There, it snaps in. That's the cooling fan to the stereo. The last two things we got to hook up now is the other USB connector. And this one you'll be able to hook up your iPhone to it and things like that. So this one is, this is a 6-pin. All I got to do is look on this panel here for the 6 pins. That other one has a 6-pin also, but that's the one I was telling you you won't need. So now all I got to do is line this up, 6-pin to 6-pin. There it is right there. push it in. There, that's in. This one is the wire that you need for your camera input. The other one is made for a camera input too, but that's if you're not going to use the CAN bus. So all I got to do is look on here. This is an 8-pin connector. There's your 8-pin connector right there. All I got to do is line it up, plug it in. See, it's all plugged in. So all the plugs that I have so far are plugged in. No, they're not. There's one other plug you got to plug in from here into this. This is the 8-pin, and here's your other 8-pin adapter right here. This is number 4th coming from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this thing plugs into there. Line it up, plug it in. Make sure it's properly aligned. Plug it in. There. So one more connector. Got to make GPS antenna. What I got to do is remove this other red cord here. Cover. This is your Wi-Fi antenna here. Leave that alone. Screw your GPS antenna in here. Once I know all this stuff worked, then I can start putting it all away. And you don't want to see that pain. So the instructions will show you which way to do these based on which camera you're going to do. And then all you got to do is remember, this is your long wire for your camera input. If you're going to do it one way, there's another set of wires that come with the kit that you plug it into. These two wires here are mainly power. How it normally runs is you're going to run an adapter to the camera. This adapter came with the wiring. The white is connected to a power source, which is typically the end of this, and this black wire is connected to a ground anywhere in the vehicle, and that way actually what powers your camera. This is the video connection that you're going to hook up on one end, and you're going to run all this all the way up to, in this case, since I'm using the CAN bus, it's going to be this connector right here. So all we got to do now is power this up, see how it works. I'm just going to set this up here. I'll turn it around the correct way. And I'm not trying to hook this up or anything. Put this in. See, there's connectors here on both sides that's going to hook into the connectors on the car. I don't want to push that in yet because I don't want to fight with it to get it back out again. So what we're going to do is set this up here the best way we can and give it a try. There, it's up there for now. We'll see how that works. All I gotta do is power it up. Then I'll show y'all a little bit of running the wires, but you don't want to hear about all that for the sake of keeping this video shorter. See, it's gonna be a perfect fit once it goes on there. You won't be able to see all those wires. Oh, there it goes. Wow, it's working. My camera's booted up, and now we're looking at this thing come to show Google. There, we got it in and it works. I'm gonna show you all the programming stuff later on, but I'm going to have to set this aside so I can finish doing what I'm doing. Looks good so far, folks. Now that I made all my connection, ran all the wires through, connected my audio visual cable. Now all I gotta do is line this up with the connectors on the side and pop it in. There's plenty of room behind there for the wires to go into. Just make sure you line it up properly. And push it in. left side in. Because of that clamp that came off earlier, I had to squeeze a little harder. I got it in. It looks like an actual fit. What I gotta do now is take off the little plastic coating. And I can show y'all later on the setup. So I ran my wires back behind the head unit. There's openings in the very back. I ran the wires down. All the other wires, except for the mic wire, went the other way. But in this one, I brought the 4G wire, the GPS wire, as well as the camera lead out this way. Ran them over to the side. I'll hook those up later where you won't see them. I ran 2 sets of wires up this way and out here, while I attached the GPS antenna here and the 4G antenna down there, even though the antenna came with a very short wire, so I can't get it up where I want it. The antenna, the backup camera wire ran this way underneath the seal all the way up till you reach the headliner here. Then I took it behind the headliner there and ran it all the way back to the back. I ran it through the headliner here, down behind this seal, and back over to where you see it sticking out here. Now here I got a choice of running it outside of the seal and then in through these cables here so it won't see it down this way. Or I can open this panel up here like I did in the past, then run the wire through. But I don't know if I want to go through the house of taking this boot off the cover. Then we'll run it back to the back, take the front cover off, and then we'll install the camera up in this area somewhere. I'll show you how that thing opens up in a minute. But you open it up with these torch screws here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 on the outside here. I'm thinking there's another set somewhere. But then the back of the panel comes off. This back part, not the front. And then you'll be able to reach the wires that goes through there. I like the option of nothing interfering with the weather seal. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can lift this up and run it through the inside to the outside door. You remove this panel by unloosening these 6 hex head and regular head screws, bolts rather. So to remove this panel, there's 6 screws, 3 around the back and 3 across the front you have to take out. Mine were in here really tight, so I'd use the wrench to loosen them up. Or you can use a wrench too. At the beginning. This one. Might want to get something holding this back for you. I had a way of doing that before. I figured out how I used to do it. Now I got to get the last 3 in the back. And that will be free. Be cautious. It's some high-powered electricals back here. But I'm not going to touch them. It takes a while to do this. I'd rather do this the right way than have to worry about it later. Costs me a little more work. Okay. It's gonna be worth it. Once that blows off, then just lift this up. And there's your engine. You option pull this back like this. Pull that up out your way. So now you're able to see the engine compartment and where I got to put the seal through. So I'm going to put it underneath here and into that wiring bundle right there. The wiring bundle right there to come back out through this on that door. Now we're going to move these two screws on the left and right side of this back door here. I removed the ones on the right side already. Remove these. And you see that panel getting loose. Last screw. Okay, the door should be free. Should be able to lift this door up. There are 4 more screws on the back side of this panel. Should be 3 actually. Take those off. You have to take the door handle, the door lock cover off, which was a pain, but you have to just grab it and push it forward. It seems like it's going to be hard, but it'll come off. Then there's 2 screws you have to take off for the handle, and then you'll see that last screw that you need to take off right down here. Hold the bottom, because once the screw come out, that panel's free. Just lift it up. We'll screw out. There. So lift up, it comes off. Keep in mind, all your electricals are connected through this, so you have to disconnect them before you pull this panel all the way off. There's one light connector here. Squeeze the little bulb. I found it easy, just pop the light out. Push it out. And turn it. So sometimes squeeze that little panel. Too hard to do. You got one of them off. Same thing to the other side. Just push down and then push it sideways. Pull it out. One thing's connected is these sticky to the door panel. Pull it off. There. There, it's free. This installation here, no big deal. Just have to get through it later when we put that panel back on. Move this out your way. And here's where the wire comes through that we're trying to get you to make this simpler. So all we got to do now, with my finger, this is back down. Now we're going to take this wire, this wire for this is too thin to try to put something in. So what I'm going to do is just run this past that seal and out the other side. We'll go into the boot, this boot here. If you reach it, kind of hard to see, but it's in there. Let your fingers just guide it on through. If it cooperates. You can see it poking through. Grab it there. Got it through that hole. So what I'm going to do is give enough space where this boot's going to push down on that. You won't notice it. Make sure you got enough room where it won't pinch. And then the fun part is going to be getting it through this boot here. I forgot how thick this cord is, but I think we're going to be able to get it up through there. Just have to work it. Just keep pushing it on through. out the other end. Coming out the other end may be a challenge, but I feel it. Let's push it on through that rubber. You can see it coming through. Put the thumb behind it. Get clearance on one other wire. Almost through. There, once you get past that tight rubber seal. You know, it's gonna be the hardest part. I went this way because I just want to do as best as I could, make it look professional, and make sure nothing's pinched by this door. There, whew, got it through. I can pull the excess through. Remember to leave a little bit of slack in here. You can go ahead and put this boot back in place, and the boot go back in place to include that wire. There. What I'm gonna do is let this down. After you get the inside boot put in, they can just push this one back into place. Start at the bottom and work it in. There, that's in place. See, you can't see it going through there. Now all we gotta do is run the wire from going into the back, out the back way. When that, you just simply put your wire through, pull it out the back. There. It's all the way through. We got to find a place for it back here in the back. Now what we got to do is put this boot back in place. That work for the bottom, up. Doesn't matter which way you go. You should get it all in. There. The boot's back in place. These are the wires I took out earlier. I don't know why the cover's trying to come off. But here's your wire all the way through. Now this is going to be where we mount our positive wire to that connector. I mentioned it to you. And then we'll ground it somewhere back here. We got to find a place. We might have to run the ground into the interior somehow. Now what we got to do is prepare this wire to be connected to the power wire on that little adapter. Hope this thing can see all I'm doing. Do the same thing to the positive side of this. One wire is red, those are black and red. Black and red is the ground. It's 18 gauge wire. Hope you're able to see this, but I'm now taking, I use these new Wago type connectors. Put one in here, lock it down, do the pull test, sit there. And the other end in here, lock it down, slight pull test. There, that's connected. I just need to find a ground for this somewhere back here, and we'll be set to install the camera. After you put your wire in and ran through, don't forget to put the bolts back on your cover. Bolt those down, and you can go ahead and work on the back end. I'm going to install this camera. I put little pilot spots where I'm going to put pilot holes in here, and instead of me drilling a hole to go through, there's a little cutout right there in this thing. I don't know what that's for, but I think that's enough for me to jam that in the corner, and I can put those lights in and not have to cut a hole. We'll see how that goes. Look, y'all, after much ado, I finally got my backup camera working. I couldn't get it working the ordinary way, so I did similar to what I did in my old smart car. I tapped into the brake light assembly. The first light is the first one, which in my car case is blue. Keep in mind, the color depends on whether your car is made in Germany or France, so go by the number. The first one is the power, and the 1, 2, 3, third one, which is a dark brown on my car, maybe black, is the ground. So if you wire it that way, it'll work. This is where I have the camera mounted in the center. And like I said, I pulled the wire just up through the input for the light fit, the tail light. So I'll show you when it all back up together. Okay, I don't know how much on the disassembly you missed. Got frustrated over some things that weren't going right that day, but now it's time to put it back together again. I already showed you the wiring I did over there in the tail light. I just ran it under here for now. I could have ran it through the other part. I'll fix that later. Got it running through the boot. So now to put this back on, make sure this is attached here. Remember, I ran my camera through where the tag lights come through. There's a little tab there that accepts that wire. So now all we got to do is open this up a little bit, slide this under, make sure the wires here are pulled up out of the way so nothing gets caught. Also, while you're at it, to show you some things I learned along the way, don't forget to put the installation pad back in here. These little forms here, one of them came out on me as I was taking this apart, and I didn't know where it came from. It was over here, but I managed to put it back in place. Got little foam parts. You're gonna need that because that's one of the guides this thing goes into to put that back in place. So just put this in with what was glue facing towards the door panel. It goes up like this, yeah. I had it upside down. So make sure it's down, out of the way. It won't hold anything back. Then open this up a little bit and slide this gate underneath that door. You see it catching down underneath. It's on there. What I do is once it's on, pull this back up and got this back into place. There. Slide back in place. Now before you close this up, make sure you put your light wires through. And with these, all I gotta do is put those back up in here like such. Then you just jam it back in place. Sometimes you hear a snap, other time you won't. Put that back into place like such. Make sure this goes underneath that rubber ledge. You can fix that up pretty later. In the meantime, I got to let this down and start putting the screws in. The way where these screws goes is a little different in the Cabrio than it is in here because of the shape of and design of this back compartment here. But all of them require about 8 screws, no matter which model you have. What I'm gonna do now, make sure all these seals are in, which they are. I can screw it down nice and good, secure. Hope the camera's capturing all of this. That one that's secure. This is the one that's underneath the handle. Secure that one. You have to open this up. Make sure your screws are in here. Now to go through and check your seals. Make sure your seals are free. Up the doorway. Just lift them up over the door there. There. Now it's time to reinstall the covers to the handles. And the way you do that is simply put this in. So it's not very hard. Turn it this way. Align the snaps. See the snaps. You see the shape of the plastic in here. Put it over it. Snap it in place. Just that simple. And then you grab the handle with its 2 screws and just set it over there, over the 2 bolts. You see that bolts them in. You put in first, then you put in the second. Tighten them down. It's in there, and you finish that off by installing the cap. Cap goes away, and I'm gonna do set over there, snap it in place. There, that's all assembled. The last piece of this is putting this cover back over the locking mechanism. And you can see the little hooks in the back of this. All I gotta do is set that up under there, set the hooks in. You line up the back side, snap it in. There we go. It's all back together. Now for the test of the backup and adjustments of the camera angle. Now we're going to check the camera angle of the backup camera. Start the car. It's already started in my case. Put it in reverse. There you can see my camera back there. It's in the shade, but you can see. And actually my guide angles work. See how that does? So it took a couple of times adjusting the CAN bus, but it works. But so now you see that I think I need to take it down a little bit so I can see the bumper area, because my other camera up here can see anything else when I'm recording my drive, but I want this to be able to see down below. I can actually adjust the line settings in there. I didn't realize that. We'll get to that. Right now I got this loose because I got to work some sound issues too. It's only about a foot from the bumper at this point. Yeah, that's exactly 1 foot from the bumper. So I'm gonna look at that as being good enough to see anything I may need back up to. So now we set. We're gonna do some settings and we'll be done. And here we are in the car, getting ready to do our first nighttime start. Car's ready. Right now you hear a hum because I need to fix that. That's my preview mirror that does recording front, back, and inside the car. And there's my new head unit. And right now I should have already tried to connect to my radio, my phone rather. That's the first screen you get to. And you go to the car link and it actually go ahead and connect to my phone. There it is. It does USB and wireless CarPlay. So that makes it nice. I can unplug this right now and it'll connect to it through Bluetooth. One of the things you have to do when you do set this up, home, click on apps. On apps, you go to settings. This is where you go in and make all the difference that you need to do. First thing you need to do is establish Wi-Fi in your home. That way you can actually download and update your maps. So that it'll have an updated map on your computer, on your device. On the device, You can go through and set up your display, your sound, GPS. You can choose which one of the mapping programs you want to use. Here's the general stuff. That's when I set up the things I wanted to check up my time selection. The mirror on reverse will change the view of your reverse camera. And in the factory setting, then it goes to you put in the program code for your system, and then you can change other things about your vehicle. So there you go. And you can also download programs home. For example, apps. I can actually watch YouTube videos in the car, but you have to hook it up to the Wi-Fi first. Now you can also put a SIM card in here, so you can get your own on-the-air updates as you're driving, and or you can get service to your car. But I chose not to do that. Most of that can go through CarPlay on my phone. So there you have it. Oh, one last thing that you'll see. I'm gonna put it in reverse. Took me a while to get that right, but if you see me turn my wheel, you see the lines do move. And it took a while for the CAN bus to recognize that. And so that's a pretty good shot. That's nighttime out there right now, and most of that glossiness is due to the LED, the lights back there that turns on to shine down. I set mine to shine a little further down so I can see a little below the car. If I want to see who's behind me, I can use my other camera for that. But this is the actual backup camera right there. This is just the rear view that records. So one good set. Keep on loving the smart car. Thanks. Forgot to show you, to get to the stereo, I just hit CarLink 2.0, and that's how I get to that's how I get to Apple CarPlay. And it was actually, I was able to put my smart car emblem in there. That's one of the choices you have to do that. So I'm going to go to Sirius, and my favorites that's already in my phone. Channels. And watch this. Finally got the music sounding right too. Once I get rid of that hum, I'm good to go. Sounds good. I can press play from my steering wheel, turn the volume up and down, and I can also do it from the dash. And in the settings, now in my settings, I can go in there and change the color of the display. So I changed it to my favorite blue. So again, you probably can hear that hum in the background, that from the noise from the speakers. I got some filters ordered for that, and everything will be perfect. Okay, final setup. This is how it boots up. You're gonna get the smart car logo. There it goes. The other channel was my backup camera, my recording camera rather. See, there's the smart car logo I set for it, and it goes through Google. Just different settings I have set on it for it to do that. And there, it's hooked up to my phone, and all I got to do is now press CarLink. Oh, those are other settings I was looking for. I'm about to go through those again. But home, CarLink, there's some of my favorite channels. I can choose Waze up here if I want to. Go back to XM. And the things I discovered, press home, apps, settings, and what you have to do to get it right is to go to, let's see, device, general. Let's try factory 3368, confirm, There we go. The what you need to know is car model is now to get this thing to work correctly. My CAN bus is High World. The car brand is Benz. Car model is old. And CAN box is compatible. That's when you get everything to work. I was surprised to find out. Now you probably see me, the door is open. I didn't do that till I just discovered that a minute ago. So it all works together now, as well as the volume button on the stereo. And what I've been fighting for all day, you can hit the voice button and it actually responds to you. So that's great. So that's the secret to doing all this stuff. Now, one last little thing I like to show you is reverse. The cam kicks in. There are the lines. I can adjust those wider, further, the camera angle, and it's just great now. I love this head unit. This is the ad from which I purchased my smart car head unit on eBay. Thanks for watching. Since this was such a long video, I included some reference point in case you want to go back and watch again. It's not all inclusive.